It began on a freezing night in 2017 in a small town in Pennsylvania. A woman named Clara reported strange noises in her house, footsteps pacing in the hallway, whispers echoing in rooms that were empty. Cameras installed by local authorities captured something even more chilling: shadowy figures moving against the wind, doors opening on their own, and a faint, almost inaudible voice repeating a name. Clara. No one knew who or what was behind it. And that was just the beginning. Clara's town was quiet, almost too quiet. Families locked their doors, children played indoors, and rumors of the shadow people had been whispered for decades. Then, one night, a neighbor disappeared without a trace. Witnesses reported seeing a dark silhouette dragging someone toward the woods. Authorities found only footprints leading into the dense forest, but none returning. The disappearance mirrored a case from the 1980s, when a family vanished in the same woods under similar circumstances. Clara couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was watching her. Cameras caught fleeting glimpses of figures that vanished when looked at directly. Strange symbols appeared on her walls, scorched faintly, as if etched by invisible hands. Curious and terrified, Clara reached out to paranormal investigators. They brought equipment used in some of the world's most famous unexplained cases: EVP recorders, infrared cameras, and motion sensors. The first night of investigation revealed something terrifying. Every camera recorded a childlike figure with hollow eyes, hovering at the edge of the room, whispering words that made even hardened investigators shiver. Yet, the cameras in other rooms caught nothing at all, as if the presence only existed for those looking directly at it. One investigator recalled a similar case in Russia, 2006, where an entire family reported the presence of invisible beings speaking to them in whispers, resulting in psychological breakdowns. Through old newspapers and police archives, Clara discovered a horrifying pattern. Every 20 to 25 years, in towns with dense forests, families reported unexplainable shadows, whispered threats, and sudden disappearances. Each incident ended with at least one missing person and multiple eyewitness accounts of beings that couldn't be explained. Experts suggested it might be a residual psychic imprint, a curse, or even a dimension bleeding into ours. Whatever it was, it left scars, and often it took lives. One night, Clara woke to the sound of whispering in her bedroom. The voice was clear this time. Don't trust the shadows. Turning on her phone's flashlight, she saw nothing. But a cold breath hit her neck. Then, from the corner of her room, a shadow moved against the wall, elongating unnaturally, bending in ways no human body could. It whispered secrets, names, events that had not yet occurred. Clara realized she was being hunted, but not by an ordinary killer. Clara spent sleepless nights scouring old newspapers, online archives, and government reports. The deeper she dug, the more chilling the pattern became. It wasn't just her town, it was everywhere. In Hokkaido, Japan, a family in the 1970s reported invisible beings that whispered in the dead of night, predicting deaths and disasters that later occurred. In Sicily, Italy, a series of disappearances in the 1950s was tied to strange black shadows hovering near houses, visible only in peripheral vision. In Kerala, India, a man claimed he was followed for months by shadow figures that mimicked his movements and communicated in unintelligible whispers. Every story shared one common thread: the entities were intelligent, aware, and patient. Clara realized this wasn't random. The shadows had a purpose. And the more she learned, the more she feared the truth. The shadows might be coming for her next. One night, Clara's friend Michael, a brave investigator who had joined her, vanished. She found his car parked outside her house, keys still inside, but no sign of him. Surveillance footage showed only a flicker of darkness moving past the vehicle. Then came the knock at her door, a soft, deliberate rapping that grew louder with every second. When she opened it, no one was there, yet muddy footprints appeared on her doorstep, forming a trail toward the woods. Her phone rang. The caller ID displayed Michael's number. Trembling, she answered, and all she heard was a whisper. "You shouldn't have dug so deep." From that night on, Clara realized she was being stalked. The shadows weren't just following her. They were learning, adapting, toying with her mind. While hiding in her attic, Clara discovered a tattered diary belonging to a boy who had vanished in the 1980s, decades before. Every page described events eerily similar to what she was experiencing: shadow figures, whispers, unexplained cold spots, and cryptic warnings. One entry read, "The shadows know your fears. They will test you always. If you look too closely, they will take more than your sleep. They will take your soul." The diary also contained a map, the forest where the disappearances occurred. Clara realized the truth. The woods weren't just a hiding place. They were a portal. Something crossed through them, something that didn't belong in our world. Clara's house became a living nightmare. At night, walls bled shadows. Mirrors reflected figures that weren't there, and her own reflection sometimes moved independently. She recorded everything, hoping to find proof, but footage always corrupted, except for faint whispers captured on EVP devices. The shadows began to communicate more clearly. "Leave now. You can't save them. We are patient." Clara tried to leave town, but roads mysteriously looped back, GPS failed, and animals refused to leave the area. She was trapped, encircled by an intelligence beyond comprehension. Determined, Clara returned to the forest mapped in the diary. She carried candles, salt, and a notebook full of observations. The moment she stepped into the trees, a deep, unnatural darkness enveloped her. The air was thick, almost liquid, and whispers swirled like wind. Suddenly, the shadows formed a humanoid figure, taller than any human, with hollow eyes glowing faintly red. It spoke, its voice a chorus of hundreds of whispers at once. "You cannot run. You cannot hide. You are part of the story now." Clara screamed, but the figure advanced slowly, deliberately. With trembling hands, she recited passages from the diary, the only known countermeasure, ancient words meant to confuse the entity. For a moment, it froze, but then the whispers grew louder, as if thousands of unseen voices were laughing at her. She ran. Branches tore at her skin, and the shadows followed, slithering across the ground like smoke. She stumbled, thinking it was the end, until she collapsed near a clearing where sunlight broke through. The shadows receded, but only temporarily. Clara survived, but she was changed. Her friends were missing, the town whispered of her encounter, and authorities remained skeptical. Yet she knew the truth. The shadows were real and patient. They waited for those who dug too deep, studied too much, or tried to uncover what should remain hidden. The diary was now in her possession, a guide and a warning. Clara recorded her story online, warning others, yet deep down, she knew the shadows never forget. Sometimes, when she turns off the lights at night, she still hears the whispers calling her name.